Hi, I'm Amy, and I've got the travel bug, but I like doing it alone. Those big bus tours are great for some folks, but not for me, and I want to show you how I build my trips that are independent, solo travel, and safe. I hope these videos will inspire you to travel as well. So one of the first things I do when I think about travel is I think about a place I want to go. Makes it sound simple enough, but then I figure out how I want to get there, how I want to do it independently and safely. So I decided for my first trip back in 2018 that I wanted to go to a beautiful place in northern England. I already been to London and I already did all the museums and all that, but I wanted to go to the countryside. And so in this video, I'm going to show you a trip that I took to the northern section of England called the Yorkshire Dales. Basically high above all of the cities, a plateau, plains, great hiking, great views. But I went in November, so it was kind of a mess. But that's okay, but I wanted to do it. And so what I did is I picked a city I wanted to go to, or a place or an area, and then I built my trip around that. I picked Leeds, which is the center point of where I was going to do all my travel. So this video will show you Leeds, where I flew or took the train into after I flew into London, and then how I traveled around using the trains and what I saw. Hope you enjoy. So this is a slideshow of all the photos that I took when I went on my trip in 2018 to the Yorkshire Dales National Park with my home base out of Leeds. I saw a photo on the wall of a dentist's office and the caption read, Yorkshire Dales National Park. So I went home and I researched the location and came up with my plan. I saw that Leeds was the large central city at the edge of the park and decided to make Leeds as my hub for my 10-day trip over Thanksgiving of 2018. I researched the train map for the area around and saw a bunch of small towns to explore, a grand estate that I love to walk through, and of course where to walk the moors. So I flew from Dallas to London, and with my Eurail pass I was able to get on the Heathrow Express from the airport into the London train station, and then from London to the city of Leeds by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Leeds is a large walkable city with lots of shopping and restaurants. Had an absolute blast walking around this place. And then I used Google Maps to search for a hotel within walking distance of the train station, and I found a great hotel that had a restaurant and a bar to hang out with in the evenings. So I mentioned that these were my inspiration photos for my trip and how I built it. I did my research and found that I could take a quick train from Leeds up to Ilkley. And an Ilkley's train ride, it was absolutely wonderful. A little bit overcast, but that's typical for November in England. After about a 30-minute train ride, I arrived in Ilkley, which is at the end of the line due to the deep elevation changes in the area. It's at the southern edge of the Yorkshire Dales National Park. And its history goes all the way back to the Roman occupation, and there's even evidence of an old Roman fort in the center of town. The town's population is only about 15,000 and has like one street, main street, that has some shops and some pubs. It was a spa town in the Victorian age because of the cold water spring that was up at the White Wells Spa House. So that was my destination, the White Wells Bathhouse. And the weather was so overcast and foggy and misty, and it took me about an hour and a half to get all the way up to the bathhouse. Walking up to White Wells from the town below was tough. You really can't tell from these pictures, but the trail down from the town was extremely steep. The bathhouse was built in 1655, and when it was considered fashionable to take the waters in what they called the nectar of the gods, which meant basically plunging into this ice-cold spring water for your health and health benefits. I started to continue up the hillside from the backside of the spa house, but the weather got really bad and the trail got worse and it got slick, so I ended up having to return back to the town and have lunch. A couple days later, I wanted to go to one of those large estates that I love to walk around. So this time I went up to Harrogate, and the train ride did not disappoint. Although it was foggy and misty, but it still was that beautiful, quintessential English countryside that I loved. The Harewood House and estate is still owned by the Earl and Countess of Harewood. I believe they still live in a portion of the house and open up the rest for visitors. Think Downton Abbey. It's exactly the same way, with its elegant rooms and the kitchens that were below stairs. There was elegant dining, silver and china cabinets downstairs. There was bell pulls in some of the rooms so you could call servants. It was built in the 1700s and had extensive gardens, and I really enjoyed walking around even though it was all cold and misty. But the house was decorated for Christmas and the holidays, and that's why I love traveling during Thanksgiving. One of the following days, I took the train to Knaresborough. This town also dates back to the 1100s, and that's a train track coming in to the town below. I walked up the hill, and there was the remains of an old Norman castle, which was also built around the 1100s. It was built to watch over the river and look for enemies coming into town, I guess. History has it that one of the knights that killed St. Thomas Becket was the governor of the town at the time, and he and the others hid out here for a while. A town with a population of about 15,000 and had a great center square lined with quaint shops and restaurants, an inn, and a pub. I asked the locals where I could find some good fish and chips, and I wasn't disappointed. However, they didn't serve beer, so I had to go back to that pub called Blind Jack's, and that's where I had got my pint of cider before walking back down to the town square or town train station and returning back to Leeds. So I returned back to Ilkley because there was something I saw that I didn't get a chance to finish the first time, and that was walking along the river. There was a beautiful path on either side of this very fast-flowing river just outside of town. I walked about a mile down and saw this beautiful 1600s bridge, walked across it, walked back into town, and then had lunch. So this is my inspiration, this photo that I saw in my doctor's office, and I decided to go to northern England to see the Yorkshire Dales, and it was not a disappointment.